Welcome to Alex and Annie, the real women of vacation rentals. I'm Alex. You're on mute. Still on mute.
There, better?
Yep, there you are.
I don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
That's weird.
Try that again.
Silent Annie. Okay, one more time. Welcome to Alex and Annie, the real women of vacation rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we are joined today with Mr. Miller Hawkins, president of VRMA and president of Booe Realty. Miller, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, ladies. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you here. And this is kind of a special episode. We might start calling this is Monday that we're filming or recording, Monday Minutes with Miller. Maybe it's something that we continue. But in the meantime, we brought Miller on to talk about our recent trip to VRMA in Chicago. That was just a couple weeks ago. And it was an excellent conference as always, but we wanted to have Miller dive in on some of the highlights of the show. But before we get into that, Miller, can you just give our audience a little bit of history of who you are and your background within the organization and industry?
Thank you. Miller Hawkins, as Alex said, I'm the owner of Booe Realty here in Myrtle Beach, usually sunny Myrtle Beach, but it's pouring down rain today. I got into the business when I bought Booe Realty back in 1995. I've been a member of the VRMA since the late 90s, so over 20 years now. And I ran for the board of directors in 16 or 7, I believe 2017, and was elected to the president-elect position the year that COVID hit. So our interim executive director at the time froze the board. So I was actually president-elect for 2 years. And then got promoted to president, which is the role I'm in now. And then next year I'll be the immediate past president and go into so-called retirement. But we have a lot of work that we're doing with VRMA, and which we'll get into today. But I'm just down the street from Alex up in North Myrtle Beach, and it's a happening spot around here, this part of the South Carolina. But again, thanks for having me here, and I look forward to today's discussion.
Thanks so much, Miller. We're so excited, and we appreciate you've been spending some time with Alex and I to kind of toss around ideas about how Alex and Annie can sort of help the industry and where VRMA is going. And for me, this was the first spring conference that I've been to ever. I've always gone to the international one, so it was great to see the turnout, and I think everybody was excited to again be back in person, and feels like we're on a good path to have a good year for conferences and engagement. One of the things that I think we wanted to touch base on was just where advocacy is within VRMA. That's a hot topic, I think, in every municipality across the country and probably globally. But I think you've been very active, and VRMA has as well. So maybe give us a little bit of update about what happened at the conference and where advocacy is going in terms of what VRMA is doing this year.
Great. Thanks for that. Thanks for asking that question. Along with being president of VRMA this year, I'm the chairman of the Advocacy Fund Committee. And as I stated on the stage in Chicago in the beautiful Grand Ballroom, 3 years ago, we raised $50,000 for advocacy. And the money was spent to help different pockets around the country that needed, that was fighting regulatory issues. The year after that, the fund was raised, the goal was raised to $150,000. The year after that, and I was on the committee during these times, and we raised the goal to $250,000, which was last year. We ended up raising a little over $400,000 last year to fight these bans, proposed bans. This year, being the chairman of the committee, I set the goal at $500,000. And advocacy, as you said, is rearing its ugly head more and more, especially after COVID came through. Some of these municipalities around the country were coming out of COVID, and they were proposing bans, vacation rental bans, and regulatory issues for noise and parking and fire and trash and everything else. And, at literally every pocket of the country was being hit. And as I said it on the stage, it's not a matter of if, but it's when your town, your locality is going to get hit with some sort of a proposed ban. 4 places in South Carolina, which is where our primary industry is tourism around here. And, we've gotten hit in North Myrtle Beach in Alex's backyard. We've got hit in Folly Beach, and we've got a big problem going on in Hilton Head right now. And then a few weeks ago, they banned short-term rentals in Greenville, out in the western part of the state. So that's just South Carolina. But there are proposed bans, you pretty much can't name a state that has vacation rentals that doesn't have some sort of an issue right now. And because of that, a lot of state coalitions are being formed. One here in South Carolina, North Carolina already has one, Florida has one, Vermont was there in Chicago representing the Vermont coalition. And, all these companies and associations around the country are looking toward VRMA to help them fight these regulatory bans that are popping up. And some of these things are ridiculous. Some vacation, rental laws have been in place for decades. And all of a sudden they're trying to, just because of a few bad apples out there, they're trying to ban short-term rentals in the entire county or the entire state. So there's a lot of work to be done. And, with the money that we're raising, which we'll, I guess, get into in a minute, the money we're raising with VRMA and our advocacy fund is there to work with our collaborative, the VRMA collaborative, to go out and fight and produce these studies, these economic impact studies, and cost of compliance studies and housing affordability studies to help these areas, to help us, help not only the vacation rental managers, but we need to help the suppliers too, because their business is being affected if there's bans imposed.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, just a couple of years ago, you didn't really hear advocacy as such an important part of what's going on in the industry, but yes, post-COVID and Airbnb and just the influx of vacation rental bookings and issues that have stemmed from that, and the non-professionalization of the industry, it's definitely something that I'm glad we're all focusing on now. And to see VRMA step up and really be leading the charge on that is awesome. And that's probably the biggest takeaway that I had from this event was just everybody was all in on advocacy. I mean, that was the most important part because it's affecting so many of us. And, Miller, you said this to us when we went to lunch a few weeks ago, just because you're in a beach location now that seems like it's tourism friendly doesn't mean that you're protected, because you get a couple different people on city council that they don't understand. And all of a sudden, the deck of cards comes crumbling down right in front of you. But the main event that you had there, I think, what was it? The goal was 250,000. You end up raising 400.
Yeah, we had the advocacy fund. We had a meeting before the conference, and we came up with this idea of bringing these donors who had verbally committed to donating to the advocacy fund this year. We thought we'd have an aha moment where you could come up on the stage in front of all your peers, announce your name, what company you were with, and if you wanted to announce how much you were donating, you could. So we came up with out of our $500,000 goal for the year, we shot 250. Let's just try to raise $250,000. We got the rest of this year to raise some money. Let's try to get 250. So after I spoke, and then we had the session with Tiffany Edwards and the panel, the microphone was given back to me, and it was kind of like a telethon. Hey, come on up here and make your pledge. And I looked over there, and there was about 10 or 15 people that had already lined up to come up there. And they announced their name, and we asked for the donors at a $10,000 level and up to come up. We'd love to have 50 or 60 people there, but we'd have been there for a couple of hours of people doing that. So we provided a QR code on the table for people that wanted to donate less than $10,000. And then for anybody 10,000 and up, they lined up. And when the dust settled, we had raised $440,000 in that one session.
Wow.
In addition to that, we raised a little over 20,000 with the QR codes on the table. So in that one session, less than a half an hour, 45 minutes at the end of that, we had raised almost $470,000, which
Wow.
is incredible. But we're not done. I mean, we've got several more events the rest of this year. We're still actively, contacting the people who had donated in the past, years that have not committed yet, or the people that we've got a list of who we're going to be reaching out to. So we set $500,000 as a goal. I think we're going to blow through it, before the executive summit, and which is not saying we can't stop at 800,000 or 900,000. Because we need the funds because the people need us.
Yeah.
Can you go into detail a little bit about the study that you did in the last couple of years to help the issue in North Myrtle Beach? Because I think that really brings it home. It certainly did for me as to what the importance of the work that you do and why you need this money to be able to support these communities.
Yeah, and North Myrtle Beach would have been, and I have a few properties in North Myrtle Beach on the southern end of North Myrtle Beach. But if anybody ever goes to North Myrtle Beach, I mean, it's completely full of restaurants and theaters and vacation rentals. There's not a whole lot of big hotels up there. Everything up there is condominiums and beach houses. And when this issue came up, Rick Elliott brought it up to me that the city council was going after the vacation rental industry in terms of smoke detectors and parking and noise and trash, and they were trying to put a ban. And so he came to us at VRMA, and part of the solution, Rick and I formed the South Carolina Vacation Rental Alliance, which is our state coalition that I mentioned a while ago, to help fight the issue. But VRMA came in and did a cost of compliance study with North Myrtle Beach in mind. That was presented to the city council, fought with the city council, and we won. So the proposed bans were voted down up there. We didn't stop there. We went ahead and went to I proposed us doing an economic impact study for the state of South Carolina, mainly focused along the coast. And we spent $75,000, $80,000, I believe what it was, to do an economic impact study, which produced the results were that the tourism in the South Carolina, the economic impact on South Carolina was $4.8 billion to the state, along with 48,000 jobs that it created along the coast. That was just produced about a month ago. But the study that with North Myrtle Beach, there was a cost of compliance study that helped fight that out. And we had a large team, spent a lot of time on the ground up in North Myrtle Beach and in Rick Elliott's office up there to fight this. So, and Rick is one of our tier 1 donors for the Advocacy Fund as well. But that thing reared its ugly head, and we fought it, put boots on the ground up there and won. And a lot of those boots are in Hilton Head right now.
I'm curious, Miller, in your mind, do you think that there is some of this that's being pushed by hotel and lodging side against vacation rentals? And the reason I ask that is when COVID hit and in Florida, they wouldn't let vacation rentals open. And the justification for opening hotels was, oh, well, the governor said we need to be able to house any of the aid that comes in. We need to be able to house the truckers that are moving around. We need to be able to house all of the people, National Guard, all these things. And in my mind, I'm like, well, accommodations are accommodations. But it seemed to me that there was a definite divide in kind of the have and the have nots, and the Hotel Lodging Association had a much more organized voice and bank account to fight some of these things. So I'm wondering how much could be related to, I don't know, I want to say backdoor fighting, but people that are like maybe fighting behind the scenes from the hotel lodging side. And just curious if you had any thoughts on that.
That's a great question, and I probably would have answered it differently a few years ago. But no, right now, especially in my area here, which I'll touch on in just a second, around the country, are the hotels behind some of these regulatory bans? Maybe. I think it's more of ignorance of the general population, and the city councils and the county councils and governors have no idea what vacation rentals are. For instance, in Florida, there was a team that met with Governor DeSantis, And his eyes were opened up when he realized, hey, you all aren't the Airbnbs that people think we are. And when he realized that we're a professional association and we represent professional vacation rental managers, not the mom and pops that just rent their place out and so on. It was an eye-opening experience to Governor DeSantis, to where, you know, he's now advocating for vacation rentals. Now, there's probably some places around the country that are I think in the western part of the state here in Greenville, there was a big push up with the hotel motel lodging there, and they voted 5-4 against for banning rentals and everything. In Myrtle Beach, I would say they're not behind it at all. I had a conference recently with Alex, and she and I were on a panel, and the room was split between hotel motel and vacation rental managers. And we're working together here in the Myrtle Beach area for Myrtle Beach tourism, and to bring tourists to Myrtle Beach, and not only bring them here once, but to keep them here and get them to come back year after year. So we're forming a coalition and a partnership, the vacation, VRMA, and what I'm trying to do with whatever I can do on my side is to work with the Hotel Motel Lodging Association around here, and Alex's Chamber of Commerce and the Hospitality Association, to create some sort of a coalition to where we can advertise to, the eastern side of the Mississippi River, let's say, which is most of our tourists come from, to say, come down to Myrtle Beach, stay in a hotel, stay at a campground, stay in a vacation rental, stay anywhere, but please put your head in our bed, and then come back next year. And while you're here, enjoy the golf courses and the theaters and the 1,500 restaurants and so on. So in Myrtle Beach, no, there's not I strongly feel that the hotels and motels are not behind any sort of a ban. Down in Hilton Head, I don't think the hotels and motels are behind that. I think it's a group of individuals who don't understand what vacation rentals are, and they think that we're a bunch of Airbnbs. And they got bad press over the weekend yesterday.
Really bad.
With what the Airbnb did and everything. And again, all of a sudden people think that all vacation rentals are Airbnbs now. And that's not fair to Airbnb, but it's not fair to us just as well.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And hopefully, I have a partner that's dealing with some problems in Texas through Airbnb, and Airbnb is advocating for the guest when it was, a house party. It was a similar situation. Didn't get what happened in Pennsylvania. But again, I think, Airbnb needs to come to the table, and I'm not seeing them come to the table as they should in my mind. And I guess on that, what have you engaged with them? Are you engaging with them, or trying to get them to come to the conversation?
All I can really say about that is we're trying. The door is open, and the offer has been extended. The handshake has been extended, and we're trying to work with Airbnb. We've got a fantastic relationship with VRBO and Expedia and Booking.com. We've got Homes to Go. We've got, our vendor showcase in Chicago was full. Airbnb was there. Yeah. But yeah, we are trying to work with Airbnb, and the handshake has been extended.
Well, and I'm glad that you did offer that handshake to a wider exposure in the fall, when you opened it up for individual managers to come to VRMA for the first time. And really, I know that decision kind of, made some people upset, but the more that we think about it, I do understand where it came from. And it is the rising tide floats all boats mentality here, that we all need to be working together to professionalize the industry, because one, the individual hosts, they're not going away, but if all the rules are put in place because they are the ones that are breaking, they're setting the problems, then that makes it so that the professional managers can't do their job. So it really does make sense. But I'm curious, were there individual owners at the spring event? I didn't meet any personally. I know in San Antonio, there were quite a few, but.
There was, we had over 800 attendees in Chicago last week. And I don't know if there was any individual owners per se, but backing up just a little bit, I was reached out to by John Suzuki with VRBO. He's their evangelist with VRBO a couple of years ago, and this is when I was on the board, just a board member, and on the membership committee. And he said, "There's got to be a way we can do something between VRBO and VRMA to increase membership, as well as we can help you, you can help us. And, we've got a platform of 440,000 members, and let's try to do something. What can we do? Well, 2.5 years of conversations, we put together a partnership, and it's not just with VRBO, it's with anybody, any of the OTAs out there, can do this. We put together a program to where we reached out to their individuals. And the reason we reached out to these individuals wasn't to open the door to the evil ones that are out there, these rent by owners that are destroying our whole industry. The concept was pushed out there that what we're trying to do is bring these individuals in and educate them and professionalize them, show them what it's like to be a vacation rental manager. Our past president, Toby Babbage, started with 0 properties and ended up, I think he has around 100 now, and he's past president of the VRMA. Jody Rafosco, who just went off the board, she started with 1 property, joined VRMA, and I think they've got 460 properties now. So by bringing these individuals in, and you're right, it was not met with the greatest of congratulations when this thing was unveiled. We opened the doors up, and I talked to several people, on the telephone when I told them what we were doing, and it was to bring these individuals in, educate, professionalize them, show them what it's like to be a vacation rental manager and do the right thing. And we had a few hundred of them join, and we're not done yet. And we're not done yet with VRBO, and we're not done with opening this up to Booking and Airbnb and anybody out there. You can join VRMA in a particular category, the 0 to 5. You can join with 1 property. You can attend the shows like we had in Chicago. There's sessions for you. You can meet, you can network, and get somebody. Who knows? 5 years from now, you may have 25 properties. Who knows? 10 years from now, you may be the president of VRMA.
Right. I mean, everybody had to start somewhere. But
exactly.
Yeah. And really, I think what it comes down to, a lot of these hosts now, they're realizing the technology offerings that are out there to them that are going to make them be able to deliver a better guest experience and, just elevate the quality of the industry there. So I think that's the good thing on it. And, we've got several of our listeners, Annie, that fall into that net of, they have between 1 to 10 units, and they're asking us what kind of software they should use, what kind of scheduling apps they should use. So they're realizing that there are better ways to run their businesses. And I think those are the hosts that we definitely want to continue to support and bring in. And, there's enough business for everybody to go around, but we're definitely all in it together at the end of the day.
Yeah. When they show up to these conferences and they're looking for something to make their life better, there's nothing wrong with a husband and a wife or partners or whoever that have 1 or 2 properties. And they've got a completely separate job in a different industry, and they need help running that, 1 or 2 vacation rentals that they have in their town or in another town. And when they come in there, the different products that are in the vendor showcase down there, I mean, if you want to get into the business, come to one of these shows, go in the vendor showcase, and you could spend a whole day in there talking to people that are going to help you from anything you want to do in vacation rentals. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I think we've talked to a lot of vendors in the last few months that they're moving into that space. They've always been in sort of the traditional, professionally managed or large group enterprise style management companies, but they're opening up their technology so these people can, access all of this information and access all of these tools. And again, I think it just speaks to everybody, from the professional side wants to help these new guys be professional from the get-go. It's just a matter of how do we, what's that outreach and how do we get to them? And so Alex and I have been really surprised at the number of people that listen to our podcast that are kind of in that space. And so hopefully they'll listen to this episode, and we'll obviously include information in our show notes, but, being able to get them the information that they need so they can make good decisions and be a good steward of the industry is very important for all of us.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So going into some of the sessions, Annie, I've written down a couple of takeaways, and this kind of silos in there quite well. But Steve Milo, Andrew McConnell, and Jason Sprinkle had a panel about the difference between pro versus RBO and how to communicate that value to your owners. And it was, I think their points were spot on. And really what it comes down to is that the pros are the ones that are maximizing the rates, that you don't have to have the highest amount of occupancy year round. It's really about maximizing rate. And especially with COVID, we don't all want to have 100% occupancy. We don't have enough staff or supplies or resources to be able to fulfill that in a lot of cases. So, really that taking that different look at it. And I know for us at Condo World, we certainly look at it that way. And we're always trying to figure out ways to better maximize income revenue for our homeowners and the business. But that was a good session there. And I think they did a really good deep dive. And I think those are the topics that need to be talked about, especially when you bring in these smaller owners that are coming into it. I mean, they've got to see that side of it too.
Yeah, the thing that 20 years ago, we would go to these conferences and they would have a revenue enhancement session. And you walk in there and you would go and you'd have your pad of paper and you're going, okay, someone's going to talk about a reservation processing fee, and someone's going to be talking
exactly.
about different ways of ways to make money and so on. And now the revenue enhancement sessions that we're talking about now are, look more toward profit than revenue. And look, and you don't have to have 100%, and all this. If you're looking at the revenue, as a whole, that's one thing. But at the end of the day, profit. You want to be able to make the most amount of money that you can make, and that may not be 100% occupancy. That may be higher rates, lower occupancy, as you said, what we're having to deal with housekeeping and everything. Higher rates, lower occupancy, but at the end of the day, you made more money this year than you did last year. That's what it's gearing toward now with this enhancement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are also looking, again, to your point, people added on all the fees to make extra money, but they're not looking at everything from top to bottom. So they're looking at what fees should I be charging during what time of the year, what occupancy should I be driving, what rates should I be driving. And it was really good for me coming from the channel management side, because we talk to people all the time that just say, oh, I've lost all these units. Owners want to rent them individually. And we try to give them kind of data points and information to go back. And I think Jason laid it out very clearly that if you look at the data points, the management companies that are professional are driving, even after all the fees and taxes are taken out and all the commissions are paid, they're driving more revenue for their individual owners than an individual owner can do, again, because of all this technology that's sitting out there. So the more we talk to each other and the more we engage with these smaller groups and individual owners, I think everybody will become educated and the industry as a whole will just continue to get better.
Yeah. And homeowners that are paying attention to things, I mean, if they see that they can drive more occupancy on their own, but I mean, their units getting just, used all the time, that's not good either. I mean, you want your unit to be used the least and make the most. So somewhere in the middle is the sweet spot there.
Well, and it's a good time, after the 2021 season that we had, back in the recession times, you'd call up these homeowners and say, it's time to put some money into your property and enhance. And they'd go, well, get me some more rental income and I will. Well, now the tide's kind of turned. When you're looking at them this year and the inspections we did, you're looking at them, you're going, you can't talk to me about rental income because you were full from April, May until September, October. So your property got abused, last year with the in and out every week. It's time to start enhancing some of these properties.
Yeah. And I will say our homeowners, kudos to all of them. This past year, we've had so many that have invested heavily in their units. I mean, just completely redone them from top to bottom. And, I get copied whenever our pictures come in from the photographer and I open them, like, gosh, they look absolutely gorgeous. I mean, all new floor, tile, paint, furniture. So it's good to see that they're, understanding that you've got to put it back in. I mean, we can't all continue as managers to push price more through the roof for product that's not also increasing with it. I mean, if you want to maintain those prices, you have to increase the product.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think a couple of the other takeaways from the conference was kind of going back to Airbnb, and not to put them out there as the bad guy, but they introduced some new rules. I did see on Friday that they've stepped it back a little bit. But, Miller, from your position sitting on, as the president of the association, I'm sure you hear feedback as to how this should be addressed. Was there any conversations that you had with people about Airbnb and kind of their stance has been outwardly where we want to work with the managers, but then when it comes down to it, they tend to side more with the guest?
We're the conversations we've been having with Airbnb is more on the same line of what we are having with Expedia and, booking and so on, is a way that we can partner together to fight advocacy issues around the country. And again, the handshake has been extended to Airbnb, and we are not doing anything with Airbnb. We're trying, but as far as the individuals, we don't really get that involved in that in depth. Because it's not really our position at VRMA to talk to Alex about, what you're doing with Airbnb, because that's more of a Alex Airbnb kind of issue. And I just know that we try to provide a level playing field for everybody in the vendor showcase. And these OTAs, I mean, VRBO, they got hit a few years back, reputation wise, and I think they've come out of it, shining and everything. And I know there's some opinions out there about Airbnb. We all have, the opinions about them. And, it's just whatever they want to do. But as far as the individuals go, I really don't really have a comment on that, because I mean, I don't deal with Airbnb. I don't use Airbnb. But I do personally, I use VRBO and Booking and Homes to Go and so on. But as far as, what I can comment on the VRMA, we are trying to work with Airbnb to fight these issues around the country advocacy wise.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago when VRBO put out the rule that what was it called? The matchback or look back? Matchback, where if a booking happened off the platform that came from them, they were going to automatically charge you the commission. And it caused a complete uproar in the industry. But the good thing was, I mean, they were at the table and said, okay, we probably shouldn't have done that. And they backed that down and worked with us. But with Airbnb right now, and I just had found this out at the conference, that the new thing that they're doing is that if there's an issue with the accommodations, if the guest has a problem, that Airbnb will rebook them in another Airbnb property, and the manager is responsible for the difference in price. So, I mean, gosh, in the summertime when we're all full, it's going to be hard for even Airbnb to do, but that's really, really, I think that's overreaching in terms of what a channel should be able to do. I mean, to at least, coordinate with the manager to say, okay, these are the options. Do you have any other options maybe? But for them to just go ahead and do it themselves, it's like they're making money on somebody's problem, which I feel like that's not reasonable. But ultimately at the end of the day, we all have a choice on what channels we put our inventory on. And obviously, Miller, you've chosen not to put your inventory on there. We just started this year on the channel, and I mean, we're feeling it out. We do much better. We do really well on Verbo and on our own direct channel. We're 95% book direct as it is, but we're not going to put all of our eggs in a basket that it's the whole building your house in someone else's land theory that we talk a lot about, and how dangerous that is. This is just another thing that, you can really have the rug wiped out from under you. So, well, I hope that they'll come to the table and want to work with us, but I think everybody just has to be a little bit cautious about making sure your distribution mix is varied for that.
Right. It's you need to diversify, and not only, and I've said this for years, diversify in your own business. I've got a sales department and I've got an annual rental department along with my vacation rental department. So COVID did not affect me hardly at all, and everything. But the same way with the OTAs is don't get too dependent on one. And whether you go with Airbnb or Booking or VRBO or whoever, it's your choice. Just, make sure you've dotted all your I's and crossed your T's, because it could come back and bite you, in the summertime, like you just said, and everything. But there's a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of ways to enhance your revenue, by using these OTAs and that are out there now. And there's more and more popping up too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, looking ahead, we've got 2 more events coming up. So the Executive Summit and then the International Conference. Do you want to just briefly touch on both of those events so we know what we have to look forward to?
Yeah, actually, we got 4 events coming up.
Okay.
Well, two I can't. I don't. Anyway, the Executive Summit is coming up on June 1st to the 3rd. And the OPALM, it's EAU, OPALM Resort in Florida. It's just outside of West Palm Beach. Fantastic lineup. Simon Lehman, who you two know very well, is going to be our facilitator and moderator for the day and a half event. So really looking forward to hearing what Simon and the education team have put together. This will be our third executive summit, and this is becoming a very, very popular event. The topics are different than what you'll hear at a regular spring forum international conference. It's geared toward the executive level. The executives are there. The decision makers are there. It's high level. It's wonderful. And it's going to be in we're on the East Coast now. We've had it 2 years out in LA. This year is going to be in West Palm Beach. The international conference that you mentioned, that's our granddaddy of all events. I've had a long conversation with Matt Landau in Chicago, and I told him, I said, I'm a very optimistic person. And the most we've ever had at an international conference is like 2,000, 2,100. And I said, I'm going to shoot for 3,000 this year. So Matt coined it Mission 3,000. And I told him I was going to give him
Miller's
credit.
Mission 3,000.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this will be, not only we had 1,700 last international at San Antonio, which during the middle of the Omicron blow up we had, to get 1,700 people was big. But now that we're going to be really back together and it's going to be in Vegas, it's always a popular event. I'm shooting for 3,000 people in Vegas. In addition to that, we have our regional connect events. These are one-day quick hitters, and we've scheduled one, we've budgeted one, and we've scheduled one for late summer. Details are being worked out. It'll probably be out west. And then in November, the November time period, we're looking at having one in the mid-Atlantic, hopefully geared toward advocacy in the DC area. It may be in Ocean City, Maryland, or something like that, or Annapolis or whatever. But so we're going to have two quick hitter events. We call them the VRMA Connect. We'll have those two in addition to the Executive Summit and the International Conference.
That's incredible. It's so good to hear. And again, I'm so excited that we've got so many events this year. And Alex and I talked to quite a few people overseas. Julie George, obviously down in Australia, she's excited to be able to come. She had FOMO last year when we shared that we were all in San Antonio together. But I think the international contingency is going to be fairly large this year. They're definitely chomping at the bit to come to the US. So I think that your 3,000 is probably, well, you're doing really good with your goals this year, so I have a feeling we'll surpass that.
I was going to say, you already hit the advocacy one, so we'll blow this one out of the park. Awesome. Well, okay.
It'll be good to get everybody back together. We're going to have a golf tournament again. This supports many in the industry know who Stuart Couch was up in the Outer Banks and what he did for our industry. And so a couple of years ago, when we were at the international conference in New Orleans, I was at dinner and I was like, you know what? I miss having the pre-conference events. I've been going, where we show up a day or two early and take a tour of the city or do something fun, social wise, instead of just going straight into the sessions. So we came up with an idea of having a golf tournament. And so we had one in San Antonio, and it benefits the Stuart Couch's Foundation first, and then whatever's left over goes to the advocacy fund with VRMA. So we've narrowed down. We've got a course in Vegas. I'm going to go out there in a couple of weeks on a different conference, but I'm going to go take a visit out there to this course and shoot a marketing piece with myself on a YouTube. So I apologize.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome.
I apologize for the unprofessional way that I'm going to shoot this video out there. Anyway, so we'll have the golf tournament the day before, on October 23rd, the day before the conference kicks off. So
okay.
Anyway, we have a whole lot planned. I'm looking forward to it.
We want to do it this year. We didn't Condo World. We didn't do it last year, but when everybody got back from it, it just looked like it was so much fun. So I'm definitely going to be getting our team together. Annie, you're welcome to join too. Do you golf? I don't even know if you golf.
Me? I have golf clubs. They have cobwebs all over them.
Okay.
I can drive.
I might just end up driving the cart more than anything else.
I can drive a cart or drive the hospitality cart, whichever.
We'll be there to support.
Two things. One, we're limiting it to 80 players this year because of we got a great tee time to start at 10 o'clock so we can get done and get back for the conference. So it's only going to be 80 players, but you don't have to be a golfer and hopefully she'll listen to this podcast, but Elisa Justice with Silicone Travel was on a team, does not play very much golf at all. and I love her like a sister, but she won the closest to the pin.
Oh,
And she was also on Doug
Wow.
Brindley's team, and they won the tournament last year. So
Oh my
Nice.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
let's call her Alex. We can put her on a team with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
she's
Absolutely.
good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, seems like it. Seems
Oh,
like
that's
it.
awesome. Well, thank you, Miller, so much this was a quick notice for you to jump on the phone with us and record this, but we definitely appreciate it and enjoy the time with you and the rest of the VRMA staff and everyone else at this conference, and really look forward to seeing everybody at the next one. Perhaps the executive summit, I'm not sure, but we will be at all the ones that we can.
Well, and thank you all. I'd like to really kudos for what you two have done. In the short time you've had this podcast, you've really, there's a lot of waves going through the VRMA listening about you all, talking about you all. So keep up the great work, and any way that VRMA can help you and support you, we'd love to. And I just admire this is a great podcast, and I love the marketing and what y'all did in New Orleans, going down the street and everything. It's really good. So keep up the great work.
Very
Thank
much
you very
appreciate
much,
that.
Miller. We appreciate that.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.
Take care. Thanks.